You want to know why humans aren't allowed in the Galactic Council? Ambassador Tzerk's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among the Arxii. It's quite simple, really. They were too... what's the word they use? Yes. Extra. The young journalist's antennae twitched with interest. Extra? That's a rather vague reason to exclude an entire species from galactic politics. Perhaps I should elaborate. Tzerk settled into his hover chair, compound eyes gleaming with memories of diplomatic disasters past. It all started about 50 Earth years ago, when humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel. The Council, in its infinite wisdom, decided to send a welcome delegation. I'm sensing there's a but coming. Oh, there's always a but when it comes to humans. You see, the standard procedure for welcoming new spacefaring species involves a formal ceremony, exchange of technological gifts, and careful integration into galactic society over several decades. Humans, well, they took one look at our carefully curated selection of approved technologies, declared it neat but kind of basic, and proceeded to hack their way into our secure networks using nothing but a modified coffee maker and what they called Stack Overflow. The journalist's mandibles dropped. They didn't. They did. And that was just the beginning. Within a week, they had reverse-engineered our translation matrices and created something called Universal Duolingo. Within a month, they had somehow weaponized our standard food replicators to produce something called pizza. The council chambers were never the same after that. Surely that wasn't enough to warrant exclusion. Tzerk chittered darkly. Oh, my sweet summer larva. Let me tell you about the incident that broke the council's patience. It involves something humans call memes, a diplomatic reception, and 3 cases of their fermented grain juice. The story that followed would have made any self-respecting bureaucrat's exoskeleton molt in horror. Apparently, during the formal reception to discuss Earth's potential membership, the human delegation had gotten bored with the traditional 12-hour opening speeches. Their solution? They created what they called a PowerPoint presentation, featuring something called SpongeBob reaction images to summarize 10,000 years of galactic political history. The worst part? It was actually more informative than the original speeches. The final straw, Tzerk continued, came when they submitted their application for full council membership. Instead of the traditional 1,000-page dissertation on their species' philosophical and cultural achievements, they sent us a video compilation they called a TikTok challenge. Was it inappropriate? Worse, it was viral. Half the younger council members were attempting to recreate something called the Humanity Challenge within days. Do you have any idea what it's like trying to maintain galactic order when the Supreme Chancellor of the Rigelian Empire is busy trying to perfect something called the robot dance? The journalist made careful notes, trying to maintain professional composure. So they were banned for being too influential? Officially, they were denied membership due to fundamental incompatibility with established protocols. Unofficially, they scared the living plasma out of the council. Here was a species that had barely mastered space travel, yet they were already running circles around our most advanced AI systems, turning our carefully regulated technology into what they called life hacks, and somehow making our most sacred traditions into something they called content. But surely they must have been disappointed. Angry even? Tzerk's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. That's the most terrifying part. They weren't angry at all. Do you know what they did instead? What? They made their own interstellar alliance. Called it the Cool Kids Club at first, though they later changed it to the United Federation of Hold My Beer. Within 5 years, they had recruited half the species that were on the Council's waiting list. Within 10, they had trade agreements with most of the Outer Rim worlds. Now, they're the fastest-growing power block in the galaxy. How did they manage that? By being absolutely infuriatingly human about it. No 1,000-page applications, no century-long waiting periods. Just a simple question. Do you want to help us do cool space stuff? Turns out, a lot of species were tired of the Council's bureaucracy. The humans offered something different. Innovation without restriction, trade without red tape, and diplomatic relations conducted primarily through something they call meme diplomacy. The journalist's antennae curled in thought. And how is their federation doing? Disgustingly well. They've solved problems that have plagued the Council for millennia, mostly by ignoring all the rules about how those problems should be solved. They cured the plague of Zon 7 by combining their essential oils with advanced biotechnology. They ended the 1,000-year war between the Proxima colonies by introducing both sides to something called fantasy football. They even fixed the hyperspace lane congestion by implementing something they called roundabouts in space. It sounds like the Council might have made a mistake in excluding them. Tzurk's compound eyes dimmed slightly. The real mistake was assuming we could control them. Humanity doesn't conform to expectations. They rewrite them. They don't break rules so much as they bend reality until the rules no longer make sense. And the most infuriating part? They do it all with these things called dad jokes, and something they refer to as big meme energy. So what's the Council's stance now? Officially? Humans remain banned from Council membership. Unofficially? We've been trying to figure out how to join their federation for the past 5 years. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have to fill out a membership application that asks, on a scale of bruh to yeet, how ready are you to party in space? The journalist couldn't help but let out a small chirp of amusement. And how did the Council answer? We're still debating the proper diplomatic definition of yeet. Meanwhile, humanity has established peace in 3 major conflict zones by introducing both sides to something called space tacos and interstellar game nights. It sounds like they've created something remarkable. They've created chaos is what they've done. Wonderful, productive, innovative chaos. Did you know they solved the energy crisis in the Crab Nebula by introducing something called solar punk aesthetics to the local engineering guild? The entire sector now runs on clean energy, and everyone looks like what humans call cyberpunk protagonists. The journalist's appendages flew across their datapad, struggling to keep up. Do you think the Council will ever admit they were wrong? The Council doesn't admit mistakes. We form committees to investigate the possibility of reconsidering previous decisions in light of new evidence, which is exactly why humans are winning. While we're drafting the preliminary outline for the initial discussion about possibly admitting we might have been hasty, they're out there turning the galaxy into what they call a vibe. A vibe? Don't ask. I made the mistake of asking a human diplomat once. Got a 2-hour presentation featuring something called lo-fi beats to colonize space to, and a crash course in something called galaxy brain memes. I had to take a 3-day meditation retreat just to recover. The journalist finished their notes and looked up at the ambassador. One final question. If you could go back and change the Council's decision, would you? Tzurk was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, no. Sometimes the galaxy needs a shakeup. Humans aren't just thinking outside the box. They're teaching the box to breakdance. And as much as it pains my bureaucratic heart to admit it, they're making the galaxy a better place. More chaotic, certainly, but better. How so? Because they remember something the Council forgot long ago. Space is supposed to be fun. Yes, they're irreverent. Yes, they turn everything into what they call content. And yes, they somehow manage to make first contact protocols include something called a vibe check. But they also brought joy back to the stars. They reminded us that just because we've been doing something the same way for 10,000 years doesn't mean we can't try something new. Especially if that something new involves what they call space shanties and intergalactic food trucks. The journalist nodded thoughtfully. So what you're saying is... What I'm saying is that humanity didn't need the Council. The Council needed humanity. We were just too set in our ways to see it. And now they're out there building something new, something different, something that makes ancient species feel young again. They're turning the cold vastness of space into what they call a cosmic block party. And despite all logic and tradition, it's working. That's quite an admission from a Council ambassador. Tzurk's mandibles clicked in resignation. Well, I've already submitted my application to the United Federation of Hold My Beer. Turns out, I'm rather fond of both pizza and memes. Don't tell the Council, but I've been practicing something called the Macarena for my initiation ceremony. The journalist's antennae shot up in surprise. You're defecting. I prefer to think of it as upgrading my vibe. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a human cultural training session to attend. They're teaching us something called the electric slide today. Apparently, it's crucial for interstellar diplomacy. As the ambassador floated away, the journalist couldn't help but add one final note to their story. Perhaps the greatest testament to humanity's success isn't that they were banned from the Council, but that they made the Council wish they could ban themselves. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, on a station shaped suspiciously like what humans called a disco ball, the United Federation of Hold My Beer continued to grow, one meme, one pizza, and one interstellar dance party at a time. Breaking news from the Galactic Times-Herald. The quantum broadcast began. The United Federation of Hold My Beer has just announced its 10-year anniversary celebration, and the council is having feelings about it. Senior political analyst Varax adjusted her neural transmitter and faced the camera. For those just joining our coverage, the situation has become what humans would call spicy. The Federation's planned celebration includes what they're terming a Greatest Hits of Human Innovation Expo, and the Council's reaction has been, well, let's go to our live feed from the Council chambers. The feed switched to show the normally dignified Council chamber in complete disarray. A Centaurian representative was waving a tablet displaying Federation economic growth charts while making high-pitched sounds of distress. 3 Andromedans were huddled around something called a food truck menu, pointing at items and arguing about whether fusion tacos counted as a legitimate diplomatic achievement. As you can see, Varax continued, the Council is struggling to maintain its traditional composure. The Federation's latest statistics report, delivered in what they call meme format, indicates that their alliance now encompasses 42% of known space. More troublingly, for the Council, at least, their approval ratings are, and I quote, through the roof, fam. The broadcast cut to an interview with Dr. Katal, the Council's leading expert on human behavior. The problem isn't just their success, the doctor explained, mandibles twitching nervously. It's their methods. They've completely rewritten the rules of interstellar governance. Did you know they solved the century-old dispute over the Carina Nebula mining rights with something called a dance-off? And that worked? The interviewer asked. Worked. Both sides are now jointly operating the most profitable mining operation in the sector. They've formed a cultural exchange program centered around something called breakdancing. The miners have their own TikTok channel with billions of followers. They're calling themselves the Space Breakers Collective. The broadcast then switched to Federation Space, where the preparations for the anniversary celebration were in full swing. The Federation's main hub station, officially named Party Rock Station, much to the Council's ongoing dismay, was being decorated with what appeared to be a mix of traditional space-age aesthetics and something humans called disco chic. Admiral Sarah Chen, one of the Federation's founding members, was conducting the tour. Yeah, we decided to really lean into the whole banned from the cool kids table thing, she explained, gesturing to a holographic display showing the Federation's growth. Turns out, when you remove unnecessary bureaucracy and add pizza Fridays, interstellar cooperation becomes way easier. But what about the serious diplomatic issues? The reporter pressed. The complex negotiations, the delicate balance of power. Oh, we still have those, Admiral Chen grinned. We just handled them differently. Last month, we had a major trade dispute between the Proxima Coalition and the Sirius Confederation. Traditional diplomacy would have taken years to resolve it. We organized a galactic bake-off instead. Bake-off? Yep. Nothing brings people together like trying to figure out how to make cookies in zero gravity. By the time they finished arguing about proper chocolate chip distribution in space, they'd forgotten what they were fighting about and had accidentally created a new form of zero-G cuisine. We're calling it float food. It's going to be huge. The camera panned to show a group of formerly warring species attending what was labeled as Intergalactic Game Night. A Rigelian war chief was deeply engaged in something called Among Us, with a Betelgeusian peace delegate, while a group of Arcturian monks were being taught the finer points of Mario Kart by a teenage human. But what about maintaining proper diplomatic protocols? The reporter asked. Admiral Chen laughed. Our main diplomatic protocol is, don't be a jerk. Everything else is flexible. Did you know we settled 3 major border disputes last month using a combination of karaoke battles and what we call space potlucks? Turns out it's hard to maintain ancient grudges when you're trying to figure out how to combine Andromedan cuisine with human comfort food. The broadcast returned to the Council chambers, where an emergency session was being held to discuss the Federation's growing influence. The main point of contention appeared to be the Federation's latest initiative, a galaxy-wide cultural exchange program they were calling Space TED Talks. They're making knowledge-sharing fun, one council member wailed. Do you know how dangerous that is? Species are learning advanced quantum mechanics through something called meme formats. There's a Jovian physicist explaining string theory using cat videos. And the worst part? It's working! Another council member stood up. their crystalline form vibrating with distress. Last week, my own offspring asked me why we couldn't have Taco Tuesday in the council chambers. They said the Federation's approach to diplomatic relations was, and I quote, much more vibe. The chamber erupted in gasps of horror. Meanwhile, back at Party Rock Station, preparations for the anniversary celebration continued. The event schedule included such items as quantum mechanics and chill, speed dating for star systems, and how to train your black hole, a practical guide to cosmic engineering. The council keeps asking how we've achieved so much in just 10 years, Admiral Chen commented, watching a group of mixed-species engineers collaborating on a new form of sustainable energy they developed during something called a hackathon. The answer is simple. We stopped treating space like it was just a void to be regulated, and started treating it like what it really is, the biggest playground humanity has ever had access to. And it turns out, when you approach galactic civilization with a sense of joy and creativity, amazing things happen. The broadcast cut to a final shot of the Federation's latest achievement, a massive space habitat designed through a collaborative effort they called Space Pinterest. It somehow managed to be both highly efficient and, as humans would say, aesthetic AF. "And what's next for the Federation?" the reporter asked. Admiral Chen's eyes twinkled. "Well, we're thinking about hosting the first ever Galactic Eurovision. We've already got 57 star systems signed up to compete. The Council is welcome to join, of course, if they're ready to, as we say, get down with their bad selves." The broadcast ended with a shot of the Council chambers, where a junior member was being disciplined for suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the humans had been onto something all along. Their crime? They had been caught trying to organize what they called a flash mob during the next General Assembly. As the quantum feed faded out, Varax couldn't help but add one final comment. "This has been your Galactic Times Herald report on the ongoing cultural revolution that humans like to call making space fun again. Up next, are black holes actually just cosmic mosh pits?" The Federation's Department of Radical Astrophysics weighs in. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, humanity continued to do what it did best, turning the final frontier into the ultimate block party, one reformed bureaucrat at a time. And if the Council thought the first 10 years had been challenging, they hadn't seen anything yet. After all, the Federation had just discovered something called space jazz fusion, and the galaxy would never be the same. Leaked internal memo from Council Emergency Response Committee. The Space Graduation Incident. Classification. Oh stars, why is this happening? To all Council members, priority level. Maximum yikes. It is with great distress that I must report on the latest development from the United Federation of Hold My Beer. As many of you are aware, last week marked what the humans called their space graduation. The official announcement that they have, in their words, totally mastered this whole space civilization thing. The following is a detailed account of events that transpired, along with our preliminary analysis of just how thoroughly humanity has upended several thousand years of galactic tradition. Again, timeline of events. Day 1. The Federation announced their graduation ceremony would be held at their central hub, Party Rock Station. The Council dismissed this as another example of human frivolity. Day 2. We discovered what graduation ceremony actually meant. The Federation had compiled a comprehensive report of all their achievements, innovations, and solutions to various galactic problems over the past decade. This would have been fine, except they presented it in something called a PowerPoint presentation, set to what they termed sick beats. The presentation included a solution to the temporal paradox of Sector 7, apparently solved during what they called a weekend hackathon, fueled by something called energy drinks and pizza rolls. The successful transformation of the dreaded void wastes into what they're calling space national parks. The establishment of faster-than-light communication networks they've dubbed Space Twitter, though they assure us it works better than the original. Day 3. The Federation unveiled what they called their thesis project. A complete redesign of basic spaceship architecture that throws out 40,000 years of traditional design philosophy in favor of what they call rule of cool. The most infuriating part? It's 300% more efficient than our best designs. Day 4. The graduation ceremony proper began. It involved something called a rave, combined with a scientific symposium. Somehow they managed to explain complex theoretical physics through interpretive dance. 3 of our leading scientists have defected after declaring this the most effective teaching method they've ever encountered. Day 5. The Federation announced their post-graduation plans. Instead of resting on their achievements, they've decided to tackle what they call Space 2.0. Their project list includes terraforming protocols that involve something called Minecraft physics, a galactic transportation network based on Rainbow Road principles, a plan to make black holes more aesthetically pleasing through what they term cosmic landscaping. The Council's attempts to point out the impossibility of these projects were met with something called a "hold my beer and watch this" response. Based on past experience, they'll probably have it all done by next Tuesday. Most concerning of all is the effect this is having on Council stability. Following the ceremony, we've received the following: 157 membership applications to the Federation from current Council worlds, 1,892 requests to implement Taco Tuesday in Council facilities. One very confusing proposal to replace our traditional opening ceremonies with something called flash mobs. The final straw came when the Federation concluded their graduation ceremony by announcing their next major project, making the galaxy vibe again. They've already begun by establishing what they call space jazz clubs in former conflict zones. Reports indicate that several centuries-old blood feuds have ended after opposing factions discovered a shared appreciation for cosmic funk fusion. Most troubling of all, they've started offering what they call adult education classes to other species. Current courses include How to Unfriend a Black Hole, Advanced Cosmic Engineering, Quantum Mechanics for the TikTok Generation, Space Politics and Chill, Diplomatic Relations through Meme Theory, Advanced Vibe Studies, a practical approach to interstellar harmony. The waiting lists for these classes now include 17 Council senior members and the Supreme Chancellor's entire staff. Recommendations. After careful analysis, this committee recommends the following courses of action. 1. Official recognition. We must acknowledge that the Federation's methods, while unorthodox, are producing results we cannot ignore. 2. Adaptation strategies. Begin immediate implementation of what humans call catching up with the times. 3. Emergency response. Commission a study group to understand what exactly a vibe is and why it seems to be more effective than 10,000 years of carefully crafted diplomatic protocols. 4. Cultural integration. Reluctantly accept that Space Taco Tuesday might actually be a viable diplomatic tool. Personal note from Committee Chair. I am formally submitting my resignation from this committee, as I have been accepted into the Federation's Space DJ Academy for Diplomatic Relations. My first mixtape, titled Sounds of the Bureaucracy, Lofi Remix, drops next week. To quote our human colleagues, "Peace out, Council fam." Addendum from remaining committee members. The situation has become critical. The Federation's graduation ceremony has sparked what they're calling a renaissance of cosmic creativity. Reports are coming in of traditional Volxian war dances being combined with human breakdancing to create new peace negotiation protocols. Quantum physics equations being successfully taught through what they call reaction videos. A group of former pirates who have transformed their operation into what they're calling a space food truck collective. Most alarmingly, their influence continues to spread. Just this morning, we received word that the eternal hive mind of Sector 9 has started a podcast. Final recommendation: if you can't beat them, join them. This committee formally suggests that the Council consider what humans call getting with the program. End report. P.S. The committee's farewell party will be held at Party Rock Station. Dress code: Cosmic Casual, RSVP via Space Twitter, PPS. Yes, there will be tacos. As this memo circulated through the Council's quantum networks, humanity continued its mission of transforming the galaxy one innovation at a time. And somewhere in deep space, a group of former Council bureaucrats were learning to dance to something called interstellar dubstep. Intercepted transmission from former Council senior analyst Devrak Tio, remaining Council leadership. Subject: 1 year, post-defection report. Status: slightly tipsy on space margaritas. Esteemed former colleagues, as requested, I am submitting my observations after 1 year of integration into the United Federation of Hold My Beer. I feel it's my duty to inform you of recent developments, particularly given that half of you have pending Federation citizenship applications. Yes, we know about those. The Federation's IT department, which consists primarily of cats with neural interfaces and something called Stack Overflow, is surprisingly efficient. First, let me address the most pressing concern. Yes, the rumors about Space Oktoberfest are true. No, we cannot stop it. Yes, it somehow resulted in solving 3 major technological hurdles we'd been struggling with for millennia. Don't ask how. The official report just says beer physics. and has several badly drawn schematics on what appears to be bar napkins. Key observations. 1. Federation governance structure. I've spent considerable time studying their organizational methodology, which they call vibing it out. Initially, I dismissed this as typical human chaos. I was wrong. Their system operates on principles so advanced they appear random to outside observers. For example, the results are undeniable. Their new FTL drive, developed during something called a 48-hour energy drink binge, breaks several laws of physics. When our scientists pointed this out, the human engineers just replied LOL and kept going. The drive works perfectly, though no one can explain why. The official documentation consists entirely of SpongeBob memes and something called cursed emojis. 3. Cultural integration programs. The Federation's approach to cultural exchange deserves special attention. They've developed what they call space influencers, individuals dedicated to sharing knowledge across species. The most popular is Azor Blaxian, who combines quantum mechanics tutorials with something called unboxing videos. Their latest initiative, Space TikTok University, has somehow become the galaxy's most prestigious educational institution. They're teaching advanced xenobiology through dance challenges. The graduation ceremony involves something called a viral moment. Last month's valedictorian was a hive mind that learned to choreograph all its components to something called Macarena. Year 4. Military developments. I hesitate to detail their military innovations, not for security reasons, but because you wouldn't believe me. They've developed a defense system based on what they call video game logic. It works better than anything we've ever created, primarily because potential attackers become too confused to continue their assault. Their flagship, USS That's What She Said, is commanded by an AI that learns strategy entirely through memes. It recently prevented a war by challenging the opposing fleet to something called a rap battle. The resulting peace treaty was written in emoji. 5. Economic innovations. Their economic system defies traditional analysis. They've introduced something called space crypto, which operates on principles so absurd they loop back around to brilliant. Their stock market includes metrics for vibe checking and meme potential. Most disturbing of all, it's stable. They've achieved post-scarcity through what they call literally just vibing. When our economists tried to understand how, 3 of them had existential crises, and 1 started a podcast. 6. Recent developments. The Federation has recently announced several new initiatives. Space Reddit, a galactic knowledge-sharing platform that somehow solved the Fermi paradox through what they call shitposting. Intergalactic Eurovision, now the most watched event in known space. Cosmic Coachella, a music festival that accidentally created 3 new forms of clean energy through sick beats. 7. Personal notes. I must admit my perspective has changed dramatically. Last week I found myself explaining quantum entanglement through interpretive dance to a group of silicon-based life forms. Not only did they understand, but they've since developed a new form of computing based on dance revolution principles. I've also started something called a gaming stream. My channel, X-Council Rebel XX, has 6 million followers. I mainly play something called Among Us while discussing interstellar politics. It's now required viewing in several diplomatic academies. Conclusion. The Federation's success cannot be understood through traditional analysis because they've completely rewritten the rules of what's possible. They approach galactic civilization like what they call a sandbox game, treating the laws of physics more like physics guidelines. Recommendations. Stop trying to fight it. Join us. We have tacos. Also, the Federation's retirement package includes something called Space Netflix. Yes, it's better than regular Netflix. Final thoughts. I never thought I'd say this, but watching a hive queen learn to floss while discussing dark matter theory has given me hope for the galaxy's future. The Federation's motto of "Hold my beer and watch this" has evolved from a warning into a promise of innovation. P.S. To the Supreme Chancellor, your application for Space DJ School has been accepted. Your stage name MC Bureaucracy is, as the humans say, fire. P.P.S. We're organizing a galactic version of something called Burning Man next month. Yes, it will probably revolutionize something fundamental about reality. No, we don't know how. Yes, there will be tacos. Forever vibing. Devrak, former senior analyst, current space influencer, hashtag cosmic clout, hashtag space vibes, hashtag Taco Tuesday, end transmission. Attached, 47 cat memes, 3 dance challenge videos, and what appears to be a revolutionary theory of everything written entirely in emoji.